Welcome to the Aussie Rules Training, 10 steps to developing training drills through your game model, which can make your training more efficient, more effective, and more engaging. I got this idea from just coaches asking about drills, how do you go about setting them up, developing them, running them, things like that. This is how I think it is best to organise your drills, what to decide, what to focus on, things like that. So we've got 10 steps. So step one is that your game plan is built around the 4 game moments. If you've read my content in the past, you'll recognise some of these terms and language. If not, I'll go over them during the presentation. So we've got offense, transition defense, defense, and transition offense. At any time during the game, you are in one of these moments of the game, except for when there's a stoppage, but as soon as the ball is collected by you or the opposition, you're straight back into one of these games. Step 2 looks at this a bit more, so you can see that it's pretty much a giant loop. So if you haven't got the ball, you're trying to get the ball. If you have the ball, you're trying to keep the ball. So offense, you've tried to score, you've lost the ball. Now you've got to transition into your defense, then your defense sets in, then you get the ball back, and then you transition into your offense, you're back into your offense again. So you can see it's just a giant loop. It's not dependent on parts of the ground necessarily. So you can be in transition offense in your back pocket, depending on if it's a fast play or a slow play. We'll look at that a bit more as well. Step number 3. So we've got macro moments is first, of which we have the 4 game moments, and each of those has 2 macro moments. So there's offense there, transition defense there. These are just 2 that I've just plugged in for example's sake. You could have different ones. Defense there, transition offense there. Okay, so that's 2. You could have more. I think probably 2 is probably the right amount. And you might just have some other stuff off to the side, stoppage work, things like that, which is a bit sort of separate from this. Step 4, you got micro moments. So if we go back to the game moment, we're going to choose defense, and we're going to choose defend the goal. Okay, now let's have a look at the micro moments for defending the goal. So the micro moments are the moments in the game that's going to make up you defending the goal, or enable you to defend the goal. So it might be something like, again, I've just plugged some 5 or so options in. You might choose to make the ground small, make them go wide, cement the team defensive formation, cut off the most dangerous option, whether that's a player or a space or both, or it might be to use a spare defender. So what this does now is for defend the goal, it gives you 5 specific micro moments that you can train specifically. So you might have one drill or one scenario where defenders have to make the ground small. Okay, or you might have a spare defender drill, and the spare defender is the one who needs to be cutting the ball off. Okay, so if you've got your 4 game moments, that means you've got 8 macro moments, which means with 5 micro moments of each macro moment, you could have 40 different situations, scenarios, micro moments to train at training. Some of them will overlap, some of them will integrate with each other, as we'll see later on, but you're best to isolate them first. So drill development, you've got your game moments, you've got your macro moments, you've got your micro moments. Okay, now you build your drills around them, as I just said. Number 6, okay, so isolate each micro moment. So we're sticking with defense, we're sticking with defend the goal, and then we're going to focus on making the ground small. So how you do that is up to you. Might be through a defensive formation, a cluster, a zone, one-on-one, or whatever you choose to do. So now you've got specific way to train, make the ground small. Okay, so when it comes to doing that in games, players have something specific to reference to from training that they can use in the game. Next is you want to integrate with other micro moments from the same macro moment. So defense, defend the goal, make the ground small was the first micro moment. The second micro moment I had there was make them play wide. So that means that you've slowed them down. Your defense can really get back into formation, into shape. And once you slow them down, then they're probably kicking to an out number or a one-on-one at least. So you recreate this scenario at training, make the ground small, so you might use that drill, and then you might build on that drill to see if the offensive team can play into the zone at all. Recreate this scenario and see if the defense can make this happen, to make them play wide. Then you can start pressing up, put pressure on them away from their goal. Next up is integrate other micro moments from the other game moments. Macro moments sounds a bit confusing, but you got defense, you defend the goal. Now we can move into regain possession. Okay, so once you make them turn the ball over, then what's your first move once you regain possession? Okay, so now you're building off defending the goal. What happens after that? So again, it's another reference point for players to have. As soon as Steve-O takes the mark, the intercept mark, the fat side of him immediately knows he's got to burst to the other side. Okay, so this is where it has implications on almost every player on the ground when you plan things out like this. Number 9, integrate with different macro moments. So you've got defense, and either side of that, you've got transition defense, which is what comes before defense. I'll put them out of order. Then you move into transition offense, which is what we just touched on before. So now you're going to integrate, once you regain possession, that wingman's sprinted off to the far side. You've got other halfback flankers, back pockets, who will provide other switch options. That's your counter attack. Okay, so now you're building from defend the goal to regain possession to counter attack, and you can build it all the way through from transition offense to transition defense and back to defense. Then you put your teachings to the test, so you can use scenarios like I've mentioned. Small-sided games, that's really good for stoppage and clearance work, but it also gives a congestion type of feel, which is where games are played in a lot. And then you can put all that into a game simulation, so it might just be a 12 on 12, a bit more extra space, more chance of success, and you can build the numbers as you go through your pre-season. So the first thing you need to do is have an actual game model or a game plan. It's the same thing. I just use a game model. That's how I've learnt it. I have a game model development program on my site, which is 3 Zoom calls, some homework in between each one, and we build your game model with your language, with your tactics, your strategies. Not mine. I just help fill it in and fill in the spreadsheet that you can take away. You'll be able to use that and build on it through your coaching years. And then for training drills, instead of having cone-to-cone drills, we need to get away from those because they don't build anything that's game representative. There's a member 3 level ship there, membership level 3, which it's got over 100 training drills in there already, and I'm adding to them every week. And that can be found at this link here. So if you're interested, let me know. If you've got any questions or feedback, let me know in the comments section.